The peaceful facade. In the Grand Assembly Hall of the Meridian Alliance, Ambassador Chen Wei stood silently as accusations echoed across the chamber. The massive holographic displays showed the latest trade statistics, supposedly proving humanity's concerning economic expansion. Representative Vaxthor of the Krovax Empire, his scaled skin shimmering under the artificial lights, continued his tirade against Earth's growing influence. They infiltrate our markets with their innovations, seduce our youth with their culture, all while maintaining a suspiciously minimal military presence. Vaxthor's translator conveyed his harsh clicking sounds into standard galactic. How are we to trust a species that claims to have evolved beyond warfare, yet refuses to share the full extent of their defensive capabilities? Chen suppressed a smile. In the 3 centuries since humanity had joined the galactic community, this same argument had surfaced countless times. Earth's representatives were always diplomatic, transparent about their commercial ventures, and seemingly preoccupied with scientific advancement rather than military might. It made the older species nervous. The truth was far more complex than any of them imagined. Humanity hadn't evolved beyond warfare. They had simply learned to fear their own capacity for it. The historical archives on Earth held the blood-soaked testimony of countless wars, genocides, and atrocities that had shaped human civilization. When humanity reached for the stars, they made a conscious choice to be better, to prove they could exist without defaulting to violence. But they never forgot how to fight. Deep within the Sol system, beneath the surface of Mars and hidden in the asteroid belt, Earth maintained its sleeping arsenal. Quantum-powered warships, neural-linked combat suits, and weapons that could reduce planets to cosmic dust, all carefully concealed from prying eyes. Not out of deception, but out of responsibility. Humanity knew its own demons too well to risk letting them loose upon the galaxy. The Alliance cannot ignore the economic disruption caused by human innovation. Vaxthor continued, his tail twitching in agitation. Their so-called peaceful expansion threatens the stability of traditional power structures. Chen finally stepped forward to address the assembly. The Meridian Alliance was founded on principles of cooperation and mutual growth, she said, her voice calm but carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. Earth has adhered to every treaty, participated in every humanitarian mission, and shared our medical and environmental technologies freely. We seek only to contribute to the greater good of all species. What she didn't mention were the reports coming from Earth's deep space monitoring stations. The Krovax Empire had been quietly mobilizing its fleet, testing new weapons in supposedly uninhabited systems. Their aggression toward humanity's success wasn't just political. They were preparing for something more sinister. High above Earth, Admiral Sarah Chen, no relation to the ambassador, reviewed these same reports in her office aboard the camouflaged station Olympus. The Krovax's activities had triggered automated alerts throughout the Sol defense grid. They were probing, testing, looking for weaknesses in human space that didn't exist on any official star charts. They think we're sheep hiding among wolves, her XO, Commander Rodriguez, remarked as they studied the movement patterns of Krovax vessels near the outer colonies. A common mistake, Sarah replied, her fingers tracing the holographic display. They see our restraint as weakness, our diplomacy as fear. They don't understand that peace is harder than war, and that those who choose peace despite knowing war are the most dangerous of all. The reports from the outer colonies grew more concerning each day. The Krovax were becoming bolder, their ships straying closer to human research outposts. They were looking for an excuse, a justification to prove that humanity's peaceful nature was either a lie or a sign of weakness. In the Alliance Assembly, Ambassador Chen concluded her response to Vaxthor's accusations. Earth remains committed to peaceful cooperation and scientific advancement. We believe the galaxy is vast enough for all species to prosper without conflict. As she spoke those words, another report reached her secure comm unit. A Krovax battle group had just changed course, heading directly for the research outpost on Delta Pavonisaya. They were about to make the same mistake that every civilization that had underestimated humanity eventually made. They were about to learn why humans chose peace not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Why the species that had perfected the art of war had decided to master the challenge of peace instead. Awakening Giants. The Delta Pavonis research outpost was humanity's furthest scientific installation, dedicated to studying quantum singularities. To the rest of the galaxy, it appeared to be a modest facility staffed by 30 researchers. None of the approaching Krovax warships suspected that the outpost's sensors had detected them long before they dropped out of hyperspace. Dr. Elena Rossi watched the tactical display with practiced calm as the facility's AI calculated the Krovax fleet's trajectory. Security Protocol Prometheus is now active, the AI announced. All research data has been secured. Quantum transmission complete. Acknowledged, Elena responded, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The outpost's seemingly minimal defenses were a carefully crafted illusion. Like everything humanity built, layers of contingencies lay hidden beneath the surface. The Krovax fleet emerged from hyperspace in an attack formation. 15 warships armed with plasma cannons and kinetic bombardment weapons. Their commander, war leader Kexnar, transmitted his message across all frequencies. Human facility, this is your only warning. Our scans have detected illegal weapons research at your installation. Surrender for inspection, or face immediate destruction. Elena's response was measured, following the diplomatic protocols that humanity had maintained for centuries. Krovax fleet, this is Director Rossi. Our facility's purpose and operations are registered with the Meridian Alliance. We conduct theoretical physics research only. There are no weapons here. Your lies only confirm your guilt, Kexnar replied. The Krovax Empire will not allow humanity to upset the balance of power. You have 30 seconds to lower your shields. In her office aboard Olympus Station, Admiral Sarah Chen received Elena's quantum transmission. The message was simple. They're here. Sarah's response was equally brief. Understood. Hold position. Throughout human space, dormant systems began to activate. Orbital platforms that had appeared to be simple communication relays revealed their true nature. Ships hidden in dimensional pockets prepared to emerge. 3 centuries of preparation were about to bear fruit. The Krovax ships opened fire on Delta Pavonis I, their plasma beams striking shields that shouldn't have existed on a civilian research facility. The outpost's defenses held far longer than should have been possible, frustrating the Krovax commander. Impossible, Kexnar snarled. Their shield technology surpasses our intelligence estimates. Increase power to weapons. Show these humans the price of their deception. In the Meridian Alliance Assembly Hall, Ambassador Chen received the emergency broadcast of the attack. The chamber erupted in chaos as representatives from various species demanded explanations and action. Chen stood calmly, waiting for the noise to subside. The Krovax Empire has committed an act of war against a civilian research installation, she announced, her voice cutting through the din. Humanity will respond accordingly. Vaxthor's scales flared in triumph. Finally, the humans show their true nature. They speak of peace while building secret fortresses. You misunderstand, Chen replied. We maintained peace because we chose to, not because we had to. That choice has now been taken from us. Deep within Mars, massive hangar doors began to open. Ships that had never been recorded in any official registry emerged from their slumber. The Soul Defense Grid, humanity's greatest secret, powered up for the first time in centuries. At Delta Pavonis I, the Krovax fleet finally breached the outpost's shields. As they prepared to destroy the facility, their sensors detected multiple spatial distortions. Before they could react, 30 human warships materialized around them, their designs unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Admiral Chen's voice transmitted across all frequencies. Krovax fleet, this is your only warning. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be met with overwhelming force. Kexnar laughed. You expect us to fear 30 ships. Our fleet has conquered entire sectors. No, Sarah replied quietly. I expect you to understand that these 30 ships are merely the advance guard. Look to your long-range sensors. Across Krovax space, their monitoring stations began reporting massive fleet movements. Hundreds of human warships were emerging from hidden bases and dimensional pockets, their weapons powered but not yet targeting. In the Alliance assembly, Chen activated a holographic display showing the true extent of human military capability. The chamber fell silent as representatives realized the scope of what humanity had kept hidden. We chose peace because we remembered war, Chen explained to the stunned audience. We built these forces not to conquer, but to ensure that if war ever came again, we would face it on our terms. The Krovax Empire has awakened something that should have remained sleeping. Now they must face the consequences. The giants had awakened, and the galaxy held its breath to see what they would do next. The art of war. War leader Kexnar had expected an easy victory over what he thought was a vulnerable research outpost. Instead, his fleet now faced the full might of humanity's awakened military. The Krovax commander watched in growing horror as his tactical display showed human warships emerging throughout Krovax space, their capabilities defying everything his species thought they knew about warfare. The human vessels moved with impossible precision, their formations shifting like liquid metal. Quantum sensors detected energy signatures that shouldn't exist, weapons that hadn't been seen before in the galaxy. This wasn't just superior technology. This was the product of centuries of hidden advancement. Target their flagship, Kexnar ordered, desperation creeping into his voice. Show these humans that the Krovax Empire. His words cut off as his ship's systems suddenly went dark. No alarms, no emergency power, just complete silence. Throughout his fleet, the same thing was happening. 15 Krovax warships, pride of their battle fleet, hung powerless in space. Admiral Chen's voice came through on their emergency receivers, the only systems still functioning. Your ships are now under our control. The nanite swarms you dismissed as sensor ghosts have already infiltrated your vessels. You never stood a chance. In the Meridian Alliance chamber, representatives watched in stunned silence as tactical feeds showed the true extent of human military doctrine. Ambassador Chen narrated dispassionately as the footage played. Humanity never forgot how to wage war. We simply chose not to. Our military development continued in secret, not to threaten, but to protect. What you're witnessing is 3 centuries of innovation focused on one goal: ending conflicts quickly and decisively, with minimal loss of life. The feeds showed human ships deploying weapons that bent space itself, defensive systems that made vessels virtually invulnerable, and combat tactics that seemed to predict enemy movements before they happened. This wasn't just superior firepower. This was warfare elevated to an art form. Deep within the Mars Command Center, General Marcus Zhang coordinated the broader strategic response. The Krovax Empire had multiple fortified worlds, each bristling with planetary defenses they believed impregnable. They were about to learn otherwise. Initialize Operation Checkmate, Zhang ordered. Across human space, special operations teams that had trained for centuries in secret began their missions. They moved like ghosts through supposedly secure installations, disabled planetary shields, and neutralized command centers, not with overwhelming force, but with surgical precision. The Krovax High Command on their throne world watched in disbelief as reports flooded in. Their most heavily defended systems were falling silent one by one. No massive battles, no glorious last stands, just quiet, efficient neutralization of their military capability. How? Demanded Supreme War Leader Vexkar. How could they hide this level of technological advancement? The answer came from an unexpected source. Admiral Chen had transmitted a detailed analysis of Krovax military doctrine to their high command. It showed exactly how humanity had predicted and countered every aspect of their strategy, using the Krovax's own aggression against them. We studied war while practicing peace, The message explained. Every weapon we developed came with a countermeasure. Every tactic was analyzed and improved. We didn't prepare for war because we wanted it. We prepared because we understood it better than anyone. In orbit around Delta Pavonisua, Kexnar's captured fleet bore witness to humanity's approach to victory. Instead of destroying the ships, human engineers were already beginning repairs on systems damaged in the brief battle. Medical teams treated injured Krovax crew members with advanced techniques that their own doctors couldn't match. Your empire thought peace made us weak, Admiral Chen told the captured war leader. The truth is, peace gave us time to perfect warfare beyond anything you could imagine. We chose not to use these capabilities until you gave us no choice. The Meridian Alliance representatives were beginning to understand the full implications. Humanity hadn't been hiding weakness. They had been restraining strength. Their focus on diplomacy and commerce wasn't a cover, but a genuine preference. They had the power to dominate the galaxy at any time, but had chosen cooperation instead. Ambassador Chen concluded her presentation to the Alliance with a statement that would be remembered for generations. Humanity's greatest achievement isn't our military might. It's the fact that we built all of this capability and chose not to use it until absolutely necessary. True power isn't in the weapons you wield. It's in the wisdom to know when not to wield them. As the Krovax Empire's military infrastructure was systematically disabled, the galaxy witnessed a type of warfare they had never imagined. Clinical, precise, and ultimately merciful. Humanity fought not with hatred or vengeance, but with the cold efficiency of surgeons removing a cancer. The sleeping giants were awake, and they were showing the galaxy why they had chosen to slumber for so long. The price of power. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the viewport of Olympus Station, watching Earth rotate peacefully below. The Krovax conflict had been resolved in less than a standard week, with minimal casualties on either side. Yet the Admiral felt no triumph, only a deep, familiar weight that every human military leader carried. The quarantine of Krovax military installations is complete, Commander Rodriguez reported. Their leadership has agreed to unconditional surrender. The galaxy is watching us. They're afraid, Sarah replied quietly. Not of what we did, but of what we could do. That fear is exactly why we chose peace for so long. Across human space, military installations were powering down, returning to their dormant state. The sleeping giants were returning to their slumber, but the galaxy would never forget their awakening. In the Meridian Alliance chamber, the political aftermath was unfolding. Ambassador Chen faced a transformed assembly. The same representatives who once dismissed humanity now watched her with a mixture of awe and trepidation. Vaxthor, the once vocal critic, sat in silence, his scales dulled with shock. The human response was unprecedented. First Speaker Zerl of the Arcturian Confederation addressed the chamber. You possessed the power to dominate us all, yet chose cooperation. But how can we trust this power will not corrupt future generations of your species? Chen's response was measured, but carried the weight of humanity's long struggle with its own nature. Because we fear ourselves more than you ever could. Every human child learns of our violent past, of the wars that nearly destroyed us. Our choice for peace isn't diplomatic strategy, it's survival. In the Mars Command Center, General Zhang received reports from the field teams. The Krovax military infrastructure had been disabled with surgical precision, their weapons of mass destruction neutralized. Yet each report carried an addendum, psychological evaluations of the human operators. We monitor ourselves more closely than any external threat, Zhang explained to a gathering of alien military observers. Every soldier, every commander undergoes constant psychological evaluation. We know the intoxicating nature of power. That's why we built safeguards not just into our weapons, but into our minds. The observers learned of humanity's most closely guarded secret, the psychological conditioning that every military personnel underwent, not to make them more aggressive, but to reinforce their commitment to peace. Every human warrior was also trained as a diplomat, scholar, and philosopher. On Delta Pavonis II, Dr. Elena Rossi supervised the restoration of the research facility. The Krovax attack had revealed its defensive capabilities, but its true purpose remained intact, studying ways to prevent conflict through scientific advancement. Your warriors show mercy even in victory, war leader Kexnar observed from his comfortable detention quarters. Why not simply destroy those who oppose you? Because we remember being the destroyers, Elena replied. Humanity's history is written in blood and fire. We learned that victory through annihilation is no victory at all. In classified sessions of the Alliance Assembly, humanity revealed the full scope of their military doctrine. It wasn't just about superior technology or tactics. It was about understanding the psychological cost of warfare. Every weapon they developed came with ethical constraints built into its core programming. Our greatest fear, Ambassador Chen explained to the private session, is not external threats. It's the shadow of what humanity once was, and what we could become again if we're not vigilant. Our military power is bound by chains of our own making, forged from the lessons of our history. The galaxy began to understand that humanity's long emphasis on diplomacy and commerce wasn't a facade. It was a deliberate choice made by a species that knew its own destructive potential all too well. Their hidden military might wasn't a sign of duplicity, but of profound responsibility. In orbit around Earth, the massive defensive installations remained invisible to normal space. The sleeping giants could wake again if needed, but humanity worked tirelessly to ensure they wouldn't have to. Every diplomatic mission now carried more weight. Every peaceful solution became more crucial. We revealed our strength, Admiral Chen noted in her final report on the Krovax conflict, but our greatest challenge remains unchanged. Not in maintaining our military power, but in maintaining our commitment to use it only as a last resort. The price of power isn't in building it. It's in choosing, every day, not to use it. The galaxy had glimpsed the full extent of human military capability. But more importantly, they began to understand the burden that came with such power, and why humanity had chosen to bear that burden in silence for so long. A new understanding. 6 months after the Krovax conflict, the Meridian Alliance gathered for a historic session. The Great Chamber, once filled with political maneuvering and thinly veiled threats, now held a different kind of tension. Representatives from across the galaxy had come to witness the ratification of the Terra Accords, a new framework for galactic peace inspired by humanity's revelation. Ambassador Chen stood before the assembly, but this time she wasn't alone. Beside her stood former war leader Kexnar, now serving as the reformed Krovax government's peace envoy. His presence was a testament to how completely the galaxy's understanding of power had changed. We feared humanity's supposed weakness would destabilize the galaxy, Kexnar addressed the chamber, his translator conveying the humility in his voice. Instead, their strength showed us a better path. They could have destroyed us. Instead, they chose to teach us. The holographic displays showed the transformation taking place throughout former Krovax space. Their mighty warships were being converted into exploration vessels, their weapons factories repurposed for scientific research. But the most significant change wasn't in their infrastructure, it was in their philosophy. Admiral Sarah Chen, now serving as humanity's chief military advisor to the Alliance, presented the final analysis of the conflict. The art of peace, she explained, is far more challenging than the art of war. It requires more courage to hold back power than to use it. This is the lesson humanity learned through centuries of conflict, and it's a lesson we're now sharing with the galaxy. In the Mars Command Center, General Zhang hosted delegations from various species, showing them something unprecedented: the voluntary decommissioning of military installations. Not all of them, but enough to demonstrate humanity's commitment to their principles. Trust, Zhang told the observers, is built through actions, not words. We revealed our strength when we had to. Now we choose to show our commitment to peace in an equally tangible way. The Terra Accords went beyond traditional peace treaties. They established new protocols for conflict resolution, technological sharing, and military transparency. But their most revolutionary aspect was the adoption of humanity's philosophical approach to power. The strongest warrior, Ambassador Chen quoted from an ancient Earth text, is one who never needs to fight. This isn't just a human principle. It's a universal truth that we all must learn if we're to survive as a galactic civilization. On Delta Pavonis I, the research outpost had been rebuilt, but with a new purpose. It now served as an interspecies facility dedicated to studying both the physics of space and the psychology of peace. Dr. Elena Rossi worked alongside scientists from dozens of species, including several Krovax researchers. The quantum singularities we study here, Elena explained to a group of visiting dignitaries, are not just physical phenomena. They represent the point where seemingly opposing forces can coexist, like power and restraint, strength and mercy. Throughout human space, military installations return to their dormant state, but with a difference. Regular delegations from alliance species were now permitted to observe these facilities, understanding both humanity's capability and their commitment to using it only when necessary. The galaxy had learned that true power lay not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to choose a better path. Humanity's revelation had transformed from a source of fear into a source of inspiration. We stand at a crossroads. Ambassador Chen addressed the final session of the Terra Accords ratification. Not just humanity, but all spacefaring species. We can choose to live in fear of each other's strength, or we can choose to understand that the greatest strength lies in knowing when not to use it. The sleeping giants would remain ready if needed, but their awakening had served a greater purpose than military victory. It had shown the galaxy a new way forward, one where power and peace could coexist, where strength was measured not in destructive capability, but in the wisdom to choose a better path. As the Terra Accords were ratified, a new era began in galactic history. The species of the Meridian Alliance looked to the future not with fear of what lurked in the shadows, but with hope for what they could achieve together. They had learned humanity's most important lesson, that the most powerful force in the universe wasn't the ability to wage war, but the courage to maintain peace. The giants had returned to their slumber, but the galaxy would forever remember both their power and their wisdom. In the end, humanity's greatest victory wasn't in showing their strength, but in teaching others why they had chosen not to use it for so long.